York for the post-game show. Our final score, 24-10. Stay tuned for the NFL Today post-game show. Greg and Terry, all the scores and highlights. You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.
The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
He's been the NFL's most valuable player. He's put up some dazzling statistics, individual honors, but football is a team sport. And although he's taken the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl, he has yet to win it.
It's the most important thing in a player's career is to reach the pinnacle of team success. The Pro Bowl, the MVPs, all those things are second compared to the Super Bowl. Ring, 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 ring.
An echoing motivation for Boomer Esiason to take this season's Bengals team to the highest level of success.
We have a real good team, and we have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. We have great potential here.
He's the high-profile leader of a team that 2 years ago came within a Joe Montana drive of beating the 49ers in Super Bowl 23, but then finished last in their division a year ago.
Well, the difference between this year's team and last year's team is that the team seems to be more focused, seems to be more poised.
The Bengals have won their first 3 games of this season and already have a game-and-a-half lead in their division.
We all felt that the first 4 games of the year were going to set the tone for the rest of the season. So this Monday night game is going to be really important.
The undefeated Cincinnati Bengals meet the Seattle Seahawks. And on a cool, cloudy northwestern evening as we pull back to the Kingdom in downtown Seattle, Washington. A sellout crowd, of course. It's always sold out for the Seahawks. Tonight they meet the Cincinnati Bengals here on Monday Night Football. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford along with Al Michaels and Dan Deerdorf. Happy you're with us as this long NFL weekend comes to a conclusion. We think we have a very interesting matchup for you. The Bengals come into tonight 3-0. They like to remain undefeated with San Francisco, the Raiders, and the Giants. And, of course, for the Seahawks, well, it's a different story altogether. They have a 0-3 record. They lost a couple they thought they certainly should have won. And if they lose tonight, playing in the AFC Western Division, they are in deep trouble because the Raiders are undefeated and the Kansas City Chiefs at 3-1 are definitely for real. Meanwhile, the Cincinnati Bengals are also very much for real. They fell to 8-8 last year after the 1988 season when they almost beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl 23. But they have come back, and they have come back strong. And Al Michaels, they're in a roar about this team. When you talk to Sam White and the players, you get the feeling that they are indeed back. They have a dominant defense, even though the numbers belie that. And they have one of the most explosive offenses in all of football.
Frank, I think this is a team really coming into full flower, and I give a lot of the credit to Sam White. And think back, it wasn't that long ago they were calling him wacky. Now they're calling him innovative. And if imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, he's one of the top coaches in the league, because as you look around, a lot of teams in the league are copying Cincinnati. They're not only a good team, the 3-0 record tells you that, they're a very interesting team to watch with Esiason and James Brooks and Eddie Brown and Tim McGee and Rodney Holman. You know they're going to score. If their defense plays fairly well to very well this year, I think there's a good chance you'll see this team in Tampa in late January. Tonight, a big game for them inasmuch as it's the first of 5 consecutive road games for the Cincinnati Bengals. So they try to stay unbeaten against a team, Dan, that's just looking for a win. And right now the Seahawks are the only team in the National Football League without a victory.
And how come you get to talk about the undefeated team and I get to talk about the winless team?
Seniority.
Well, the thing about the Seattle Seahawks is, I mean, they don't feel like a winless team. They thought they should have beaten the Raiders. An instant replay gaffe really cost them that game. And then last week against the Denver Broncos in Denver, if Norm Johnson hits either one of 2 very makeable field goals at the end of regulation or in overtime, this could be a 2-1 football team. But the reality is they're 0-3 and looking at 0-4. If they go to 0-4, even Chuck Knox, in his 18th year here in the National Football League, isn't going to take this team to the playoffs. So how will the Seahawks react to desperation? For indeed, these are desperate times here in Seattle.
And Chuck Knox, who coached 5 years with the Rams and then 5 years with the Buffalo Bills, now in his 8th season here, in his 17 years, taking teams to the playoffs on 11 occasions. But Dan pointing out it's a different story in 1990. Still, it's a team 0-3 that feels it could have been 2-1 tonight, seeking that elusive first win. Lee Johnson to kick off for Cincinnati. Two rookies, Chris Warren and Derek Lavelle, back for Seattle. Deep kick, dropped in the end zone, and when they cover it up, it will be a touchback as Chris Warren gets there. And Seattle will take over at the 20-yard line. Dave Craig, out of Milton College, a school no longer even in existence. Craig with just one touchdown pass this season and 4 interceptions in the first 3 games. And he has Derek Fenner, who ran for 144 yards last week, perhaps an emerging star. The veteran John L. Williams, Blades and Kane are the wide receivers. McNeil is the tight end. And there are the men up front. Ronnie Lee, a familiar name, longtime Dolphin who went to Atlanta as a Plan B acquisition and was picked up in preseason by Seattle. They begin on the ground with Derek Fenner for a pickup of about 3. It'll be 2nd and 7. The Bengals now with McClendon, Crumry, and Buck, their 3-man front. Reggie Williams has retired. Joe Kelly traded to the Jets, so a new look with the linebackers. And keep an eye on James Francis, great-looking rookie out of Baylor. Phillips and Carter are the corners, as Eric Thomas is out for the season with a knee injury. Fulcher and Wilcox are the safeties for Sam White. 2nd and 7 from the 23-yard line. Williams and Fenner in the 2-back setback of Craig. And this is John L. Williams off the right side. A fumble at the 28-yard line. Loose ball. Seahawks feel they have recovered. There is no signal yet as they unpile. And John L. Williams, the fact that he is fumbling and Seattle does recover, that's become a story in itself. Williams rarely fumbled in his first 4 years in the league. There it is, between 86 and 89, 5 fumbles in 4 full years. And already this year, that's his 4th fumble.
Take a look at it from the reverse angle. And keep in mind, too, against Denver, Fenner, the other running back, fumbled the football. And the hit was by, as you might suspect, the big, strong safety David Fulcher. He's caused many a fumble in his career.
He's a lot like Ronnie Lott. And on 3rd and short, it's a first down as John L. Williams crosses the 30, takes it to the 32. James Francis makes the stop. And, of course, one of Chuck Knox's nicknames through the year has been Ground Chuck, and that's the way he starts.
You know, and it's a reputation that Chuck won't deny. He loves to keep the ball on the ground, although if you look at John L. Williams, a big bruising fullback, he's really the leading receiver for the Seahawks and has been ever since he's been here. So Chuck Knox, even though he has the nickname Ground Chuck, still is versatile when it comes to using a talent such as John L. Williams. A great receiver, very soft hands. A little too soft when he's been carrying the ball from scrimmage, though.
Strangely. 1st and 10 from the 32, and here's your first pass after 3 runs. And it's a little swing out to Williams, who gets tackled immediately at the 35-yard line. Kevin Walker, in his 3rd year out of Maryland, makes the stop.
You know, Frank, you mentioned about David Fulcher, the great safety for the Bengals, and then you mentioned Ronnie Lott in the same sentence. If Ronnie Lott was as big as David Fulcher, they wouldn't allow him to play. He'd hurt people. I mean, this is not an average safety. David Fulcher, 6'3", 238 pounds.
And Dan and I were talking to him before the game. He wasn't even quite sure if he could go. He has a very sore knee, and it has been troubling him all week. I think he's all right.
2nd and 6 as the Bengals show a 7-man front. And a little toss back to Derek Fenner, and he has nowhere to roam as Jason Buck is there to stop him. And we have our first flag. Jerry Seaman, who will take over as the supervisor of officials next year in his final year as a referee, heading this group. And the first call goes against Seattle for holding.
We've been talking mostly about the Seattle offense. The Cincinnati defense has taken on a multitude of different looks, much more as we look at head coach Sam White than they have in the past. And principally to move a young rookie around James Francis.
Number 86 offense, still 2nd down.
That's the tight end Travis McNeil that was holding. But James Francis, we'll be talking about him a lot tonight. He's 6'5", a 252-pound rookie. They'll put him in a down position. He's out of Baylor University, and there he is. They'll move him on the left side. They'll move him on the right side. He'll come from anywhere. It's a new look for the Bengals.
2nd and 16, Seattle. Game's opening drive. Seahawks at their own 26.
Got enough people on the line?
Mm-hmm. But they only rushed 4, and then Craig hit Williams. And Williams is out of bounds. David Fulcher will get credit for the tackle up at the 31-yard line. Dave Craig, he keeps holding on to the job and somehow winds up in the Pro Bowl about every other year. Remember, they picked up Kelly Stauffer, the Colorado State quarterback, after Phoenix couldn't sign him 3 years ago. But to this point, Stauffer just hasn't made a big enough impression. And in fact, Stauffer is once again on the inactive list tonight.
Craig is very streaky. 12 of 27 in the opener against the Bears, and last week hit his first 14 in a row. He can do that for you.
On 3rd and 14, Craig from the shotgun and throws into a lot of traffic and has it picked off at the 47-yard line by David Fulcher, who fumbles and gets it back himself. And Cincinnati with the football.
And there's Fulcher, who complained about a sore knee, showing some signs of it there, Frank, when he got up and attempted to run. Almost looked like it gave out on him a little bit as he went back down. Great protection up front, though. The blitz was picked up. David Craig had all the time to deliver this ball. Just makes a bad throw.
Intended for Blades. Blades was looking for Fulcher. As you saw, Blades turned around. He knew that Fulcher was going to be in that. And again, you'll see the leg kind of give out on David Fulcher.
For the moment, they negated that run back, and here's why you have the replay booth upstairs taking a look now at the remainder of this play. The interception should stand. I think the question is, should Fulcher get credit for about a 10-yard run back?
Or was he touched before he got up and started to run?
It's very close. Here, watch Blades. Does Blades touch Fulcher while he's down?
And that's all it has to be. There's Fulcher. Is the contact made? I think no question.
Oh, I couldn't tell from that angle whether Blades touched him or not. I mean, he might have gone over the top of him from there.
One thing he did was avoid him.
The play stands. First down.
Here it is again.
We ought to be able to see from here.
Well,
there's Fulcher.
Got his arm under the right armpit.
Yep. There he touches it. You can see it from that angle.
From what Seaman just said, though, perhaps they were only looking at the interception portion of it. Because they put it at the 47. He said the play stands. And a little screen pass to James Brooks, whose stutter step only nets him another yard or so to the 46-yard line. Nesby Glasgow makes the tackle.
Yeah, Glasgow ought to be very proud of that particular open field tackle, and one of the most elusive running backs in the NFL.
You're right, Frank.
Gomer Esiason out of the University of Maryland, and his offense, and they are very, very potent. James Brooks is a lot of fun to watch. Versatile and valuable. Harold Green's a rookie out of South Carolina. McGee and Brown are the wideouts, and Holman is the tight end. And there's a penalty on the last play against Seattle. It's going to move the ball down to the 31. And there are the guys up front. And you know everything's in fine fettle when you take a look at number 78. Anthony Munoz, the perennial Pro Bowler, the left tackle. One name, though, that is missing, you might have noticed, Max Montoya. The guard for several years at Cincinnati, not protected, signed with the Raiders as a plan B.
What's Jerry Seaman doing? Not even an announcement of what the penalty is.
Nothing. It was against Seattle. It was 15 yards. I assume it was a personal foul as Brooks goes out of bounds near the line of scrimmage. It was a 15-yard penalty. It came after the play. I have to assume it was a personal foul, even though you're right, he never announced it. Let's take a look at the Seattle defense. They used to have a three-man front. Now it's four, but three of the names are very familiar. Green, Nash, and Bryant. Woods has gone from a linebacker to a down lineman. Wooden's a rookie. Como in the middle, and Porter. The corners have been very vulnerable. Harper and Hunter. Blackman was a teammate of the Bengals' Francis at Baylor. Eugene Robinson is the free safety. 2nd and 10. Here's Brooks on the inside give to the 31-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 9 as Darren Como makes the tackle.
And we watch the Cincinnati Bengals go with their attack huddle. They do this. They huddle right at the line of scrimmage. Boomer calls the play right there. See how close they are? They want to do that to assure that Seattle cannot bring a different defensive alignment out onto the field. And if they start to bring defensive substitutions on, a nickel defense, well, they would snap the ball and catch them with 12 men on the field. That's the whole premise. They run it very well. They've been doing it for years. Esiason is great at it. But all of a sudden, you're beginning to see it around the league.
But don't confuse it with a hurry-up offense. They're taking their time. They're in no hurry to run a play.
In fact, they have to hurry. They're getting close to the run-out time.
3rd and 9 with 3 seconds left on the play clock. Esiason has it tipped, and it's picked off at the 15-yard line by Dwayne Harper. Up past the 30 and out of bounds at the 37.
Well, for a team at 0-3 in front of the home folks, looking for a break, a tip ball finds its way into the hands of Dwayne Harper.
Al said these cornerbacks have struggled, even though that was a tip ball. That is what, their 4th interception in 58 games. The 2 cornerbacks, and it has to feel good for Chuck Knox. He was bemoaning that today.
Give credit to Rufus Porter. He tipped it.
Rufus Porter, who's been a sack specialist last year, really emerged, the special teams performer, the linebacker here who sets up this interception with the tip.
Just strictly zone coverage for Seattle. You see Rufus Porter move in front of Eddie Brown, alertly keeping an eye on the quarterback, and really the easiest part of all that was Dwayne Harper's part. He just fell into it. Rufus Porter playing good, smart defense for a guy who really made his reputation as a pass rusher.
8:50 to go in the first quarter. No score in Seattle. 1st and 10. Craig on a roll to buy time, and then his pass is too high, intended for the tight end, Travis McNeil, and a flag is down. By the way, on the unannounced 15-yard penalty against Seattle, it was Joe Nash.
And I think we may get James Francis with a little bit of a late shove here from behind.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 50 defense, 1st down.
Well, I told you we'd be talking about him. They use him in a multitude of ways. Here they have him covering the tight end, and this may have just been a little bit out of frustration. He probably felt he should have been closer to him, and maybe he felt he could do that, get away with that in Baylor, but they're going to call that in the NFL.
Well, the ball was way past, and another 4 or 5 strides. Francis gives him a shove. That's going to get flagged every single time.
1st down, Seahawks at the Bengals 48-yard line. Derek Fenner for only 2 yards. Fenner is an interesting story in that here's a kid who went to North Carolina, was an emerging star, but was academically ineligible for postseason play in '86. And then by early '87, he was involved in a shooting in a Maryland suburb and was indicted on first-degree murder. Spent a month and a half in a 7 by 10-foot cell and subsequently was released. The charges were dropped. He did plead guilty to a drug charge, is on probation for that, was then grazed by a bullet a year later, and the Seahawks said, well, we're going to spend a 10th round draft choice on this guy and see what happens. And they said everything's been fine to this point. 2nd and 8. Here's Fenner again, picks up 2 to the 44.
More than fine last week. He carried the ball 22 times, 144 yards against the Denver Broncos, and when you look at him, you're looking at a man literally was out of football for 2 years. He only carried the ball 11 times last year, and he has shown a tremendous amount of potential.
And Chuck Knox describes him as a good kid, and ever since he's been here in Seattle, a model citizen. So what's done is done. And again, keep in mind, he was never charged with the murder. I mean, he was never prosecuted, found guilty, or anything else. What appears to be a very unfortunate part of Derek Fenner's life is hopefully behind it.
3rd down and 7 from the 45-yard line. Craig from the gun. Throws, and that is a 1st down if Blades doesn't backpedal. He had to be very careful, and his forward progress does net him a 1st down by about a half yard. He had to reach the 38 and a half, and he got to the 38 and then started to backtrack. Dixon and Francis in on the tackle.
Blades, Pro Bowl receiver a year ago. I think we know where Craig is going to go now in 3rd down situations. He's had a pair of them. He's gone to Blades on both occasions. Number 89. He doesn't have great speed, but he will catch the football for you, and once he does, he's a pretty good runner. He had a lot of presence here. He seemed to know where he was, and he did take a bit of a chance, though, and they are going to bring the markers out. When you're that close to it, put that football down, put the head down, and make sure you got it.
And this was a third down play.
Yeah, he gave it. Almost gave it up, but he gets it.
So the Seahawks now at the Bengals 38-yard line with 6:54 to play, first quarter. Chuck Knox on Dan's diet. If he looks a little different, you can understand that. He lost about 60 pounds.
Well, he looks like half of himself, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Chuck Knox weighs 7 pounds less than he weighed when he was a senior in high school. It's the new slimmed down version of a longtime fixture here in the National Football League. A good guy.
First down at the 38-yard line. Four-man rush, and Craig throws underneath, and what a pop put on number 81, Tommy Kane, at the 35-yard line.
Guess who?
James Francis.
He's a little bit of everywhere. That time back in the zone coverage. And as Kane come across, he was just laying there waiting. Bottom of your screen, number 50.
Well, that's the great thing about zone, Frank. A linebacker gets to just sit there and wait. Tommy Kane will go back to the huddle and say, don't do me any more favors with those 4-yard crossing patterns.
Now, he's 6'5" and 250, and Kane is lucky if he's 180.
Yeah, well, Tommy's a lot wiser right now, too.
The physics of that is rather devastating to contemplate.
2nd and 6 at the 34. Little down-the-line option. A little toss back to John L. Williams, and out of bounds he goes at the 33-yard line. Kevin Walker and Carl Carter in on the tackle.
I never thought I'd see Dave Craig doing the option in the NFL.
Well, the Seahawks are trying to give people a different look. They were talking about going to a variation of the run and shoot, which they call the spread. They used it to some extent against Chicago opening day, but were shut out. It's been pretty much junk for the moment. And that, of course, a different type of look right there. 3rd down and 5.
Here's your 4 receiver.
That's Paul Scansey, the veteran, in motion. After pump faking to Scansey, he tries to hit Kane, who can't get free. Tommy Kane covered on the play, and Carl Carter, who is the man filling the shoes of Eric Thomas, the Pro Bowl corner, who was injured in a pickup basketball game and is gone for the season. He's the man who tipped it away.
Little mumble and murmur and a little roar of the crowd as they anticipate Norm Johnson coming on, who basically cost them the Denver game. He missed on a couple of field goals they felt he should have made.
But listen to this, Frank. I mean, are these classy fans or what? I mean, here's a guy misses 2 of them, as you said. Hey, they're giving this guy an ovation, and a lot of people here are on their feet.
Well, he's won a few games for him, too. He's been here for 9 years. This is a 51-yard attempt, and it is long enough and good. Oh, did he need that?
Well, you got to love that. You got to love that. Even Jerry Seaman liked it. A classy show by the Seattle Seahawks fans. And when it makes Jerry Seaman happy, everybody's happy.
Even Cincinnati's field goal kicker, Jim Breach, was out on the field applauding.
Despite what happened last week, they still love Norm Johnson in Seattle. And much is forgiven after a 51-yard field goal to put Seattle on the board here with 10 minutes having elapsed in the first quarter. 3-0 Seahawks, and the kickoff fielded at the 1 by Stanford Jennings. And he is corralled, and that play is over at about the 18. So Johnson right back in the line of fire. Here was his kick, and it made it by plenty. His career-long 54. This one from 51. 4:56 now to play in the first quarter. The sole remaining race in baseball in the American League East. Boston leads the White Sox 3-0 in the 6th at Fenway. Toronto leads the Orioles 3-1 in the 6th at Baltimore. At the beginning of play tonight, the Red Sox leading by 1, each team with 3 to play. We'll keep you abreast throughout the night. Brooks picks up 3 yards on first down as Tony Woods makes the tackle out at the 22. Seattle on top 3-0 late first quarter.
Again, what they call an attack huddle, but again, not a hurry-up kind of offense whatsoever. They just stand there and take the normal time that they would in the huddle. get the word out, pass it along, and use just about the normal time you would if you took the ordinary huddle distance.
What Sam tell us they call that short huddle today? A cuddle?
Cuddle. This is the attack huddle.
Yeah.
Real cute. 2nd and 7 from the 22. And this is the rookie Harold Green, the big back out of South Carolina, 6'2" and about 225 pounds. He is stopped by Terry Wooden and Eugene Robinson, and they think he was a steal. Wooden as well. Wooden, a good-looking rookie linebacker who has already won a starting job out of Syracuse, and Green, the kid out of South Carolina, who for the moment is taking the spot held down by Ickey Woods, and we'll talk about him as we move along as he recovers from knee surgery that cost him just about all of 1989. First down, Cincinnati up at the 31. Esiason, after rolling with the grain, throws it away. Tim McGee was the nearest receiver. It'll be 2nd and 10.
That was just excellent coverage on the part of Eugene Robinson, the free safety. He picked up Eddie Brown coming across, and that's the pass they like to run, and they run it very well with Eddie Brown, that great speed coming across, and Boomer with the great athletic ability rolling out.
There is Ickey Woods. You'll recall he was injured in Game 2 last year against Pittsburgh. He is rehabilitating, and Sam White told us today that there's a decent chance he could be activated by the time the Bengals go to Cleveland the 4th week of this month, and that's a Monday night game.
Sam said maybe, and Ickey told Dan and I definitely.
This is Green, and Green out to the 45-yard line, and he was stripped of the football, but the officials are saying he was down. Terry Wooden grabbed it away, but they say the play was over. And Eric Caddis, the tight end, throwing the block to Stringham for a 13-yard pickup.
I think this is pretty doggone close to a fumble. Boy, and you hear the crowd's reaction when they see it on the big screen. Watch this. There's Wooden from behind. That's a fumble all the way. No way is Green anywhere near the ground.
But watch what the Seahawks are doing here, too.
Jacob Green is trying to get in.
Yep, the Bengals are trying to run the play because they know what's coming. And the Seahawks were across the line. Green covering up the football to make sure Cincinnati couldn't run the play until the replay guys said, stop it.
I think Jeff Bryant is down on the bottom. Jacob Green was on top of him, but this is a fumble all the way. The ball is stripped out of there by Wooden. You can't claim forward progress or anything else there. That is a fumble all the way, and boy, what a spectacular play by Terry Wooden.
And White is now, you see what's happening here is that I believe it's Green, who is down for Seattle in the middle of the field, is faking the injury according to White to delay it so the replay guys can have a time to look at it, and that's what White was complaining about.
There's another look. Beautiful look there, guys. Beautiful look.
You know, we directed this question earlier today to Chuck Knox. We asked him, what would you do in a situation? He said, is this becoming part of coaching strategy? When you think there's going to be a possibility of a reverse, do you do something to make sure they can't snap the ball before the replay official gets to it? And he said, yes, that's become a part of it.
Well, it's Jeff Bryant who was, we assume, playing the role at that point. So Bryant comes off. I think there's a good chance you're going to see him back in the game pretty soon.
Well, you know what's happening here is that the officials are saying that the whistle blew, and this falls under that inadvertent whistle category. They're not even reviewing this. They're saying the whistle blew. The official on the scene ruled that the play was stopped and the ball came out late. So this isn't even subject to review, and the Seattle fans aren't very happy.
And that's the end result of all of that. First down from the 44-yard line. The runner down by contact is not reviewable. The catch is made by the tight end Rodney Holman at the Seattle 47. There are certain things that are not reviewable, and runner down by contact is one of them.
Because of the whistle. Because of the fact that the whistle, you know, inadvertent or not, the whistle blows on the field, and it, you know, regardless of what happens after that, because of the blowing of the whistle, the play's over.
But Dave Kamansky is the replay official. There's no doubt in my mind, though, that what the Hawks were doing was delaying play long enough, feeling that it was a reviewable play.
Although we'll see if Jeff Bryant remains out for an extended period of time.
2nd and 1 from the 47-yard line. For the moment, Cortez Kennedy is spelling him, and Brooks seeks the first down. And I believe his forward progress nets it. We'll see.
One of the guys right in there on that play was Cortez Kennedy. There he is, the #1 draft choice out of Miami, and this first quarter is whisking along. The #1 draft choice, almost 300 pounds, still not in shape after an extended contract holdout during the preseason. Chuck Knox tells us he runs every day after practice, but still the two-a-days were lacking in his preseason preparation. It's going to take him a while to get ready.
Well, it's one of the reasons that Chuck Knox and his defensive coordinator Tom Catlin decided to move to the 4-3 defense was Cortez Kennedy. He is playing exactly the same spot, right defensive tackle, that he played for that Miami defense. So he steps in very familiar with it, and it has helped probably Tony Wood to have moved to defensive right end. He was kind of lost as a linebacker. Jacob Green will, perhaps at 11 years in the league, will get a little benefit from it because he stays over on the left side. But here is Cortez Kennedy, some 293 pounds of him, and he is a force and will be a force.
1:15 to go, first quarter, 3-0 Seattle, 1st and 10 Cincinnati at the Seahawk 45. There's the play clock on the left with Brooks in motion. And on the delay, Green swings to the outside, and he's brought down. A nice tackle by Robinson after a pickup of about 5 to the 40.
Boy, you can see why Sam Weish has nothing but nice things to say about Harold Green. For a guy playing the fullback position, he shows a lot of mobility and an ability to be on the inside of play intended to go between the tackles, and Frank to be able to take it all the way around the corner. Not a lot of fullbacks have that kind of explosiveness getting outside.
Well, watching the tapes, I asked Sam Weiss today, how did he stick around so long? 2nd round pick, has all the talent you'd want, the speed, the size. He's displaying it tonight.
Play fake. Esiason excels at that, and on 2nd and 6, the catch is made at the 23-yard line by Eddie Brown.
Did you see Boomer throw that thing falling backwards? I mean, he's rushed. I think Jacob Green is a guy coming in his face. Boomer sees he can't step into the ball and just has to flick it falling backwards. There are a couple guys in this game that have a great gun, and this is one of them.
I'll tell you, and receivers like this will make you even greater. Eddie Brown, who caught 10 passes a couple of weeks ago for 178 yards. They got McGee on the other side as we look once again, who last week had 6 for 163. And he goes up and makes it look awfully good for Boomer.
Back after this commercial and a word from our ABC station. We start the second quarter in Seattle. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Dierdorf with you. 3-0 Seahawks, but the Bengals are marching. 1st and 10 at the Seahawk 23-yard line. The only scoring in the opening quarter, a 51-yard Norm Johnson field goal. And we presented the information in the first quarter. The Bengals have now gone 9 consecutive road games over the last 2 years without scoring a point in the first quarter. And they have a 0 tonight. Jeff Bryant is back in the game for Seattle. It's 1st and 10 Cincinnati at the 23-yard line. A fumble recovered by Green. Loss of 3. Back
Ball
to the
never
26.
handled by Boomer Esiason from the center. Green will come out and Brooks will come in. What the Bengals are doing at the moment, going with 2 tight ends. Rodney Holman is in there. He is a very gifted receiver, along with Eric Caddis, who is the fine blocker in the single setback. And of course they have Brown and McGee as wide receivers. You got to double them. Keep in mind that Holman is almost like a wide receiver himself, number 82. If you single cover him or cover him with the linebacker, he'll kill you.
And on 2nd and 14, Brooks is the receiver but drops the ball, and that really does very little damage because Como was right there anyway. And Rufus Porter made sure that Esiason got rid of it a little more hastily than he would have preferred. Meanwhile, in baseball, the Orioles have scored 3 in the 6th to go ahead of Toronto, 4-3 Baltimore in the 7th. And if those scores hold up, Boston would clinch no worse than a tie for the AL East. Third and 14 at the 27.
That's a tight end, bottom of your screen. That's Eric Caddis. They show a lot of formations.
Caddis in motion, a little toss back to Brooks. who cuts it back, and James takes it down to the 16-yard line. He's short of the first by about 4, and in will come Jim Breach in the field goal unit.
Interesting call. 3rd down and 14. They were within field goal range. They just moved it in closer for Jim Breach, who is from this range, you could say automatic.
And this, if he makes it, will add to his NFL record of having scored in consecutive games, which he broke last week. Fred Cox's old mark, 152 straight. .35-yard attempt. Lee Johnson to hold. Perfect. And so 1.5 minutes into the second quarter. Battle of field goals to this point. Cincinnati 3 and Seattle a like figure. We're back in the Kingdome in Seattle. 13:30 to go in the first half. Sam White at the ready, his Bengals, and the Seahawks are tied 3-3. And Lee Johnson to kick off for Cincinnati. Lavelle and Warren, 2 rookies, are back to receive. It's a bouncing kick that does get into the end zone. And the Seahawks will begin their next series from the 20-yard line. ABC's Monday Night Football is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Engineered 12 plays, 64 yards. And Seattle begins now from the 20, 1st and 10. John L. Williams only picks up a yard. David Fulcher comes up to the line of scrimmage and makes the tackle. Well, next week, week 5 of the 1990 season, we'll go to Denver 3 times in the last 4 years. These 2 teams have met for the AFC Championship. But now the Cleveland Browns next week will try to get untracked after the disaster in Kansas City yesterday against the Denver Broncos, who had a little mini disaster of their own in Buffalo. Cleveland, Denver next Monday. 2nd and 9. Fake by Craig. And then he slides to a stop at the 25-yard line. When he pump fakes, there's always the chance the ball's going to come out of his hand. You probably read about Craig through the years. One of the smaller hands for an NFL quarterback, and that's one reason he set an NFL record for fumbles last year.
His coach, Chuck Knox, refers to it as a soap dish type of play. I mean, he just pulls his arm back into the cocked position, and the ball sometimes just flies right out. Sometimes the ball comes out. When he moves it in the forward motion, that's when he's lucky and gets an incomplete pass out of it. Unfortunately, last week in Denver, it was a fumble, and Carl Mecklenburg took it in for a touchdown.
3rd and a short 5. They have to get to the 30. And the pass is complete for what should be a first down because Chadwick's forward motion had him out to the 32. Lewis Billups makes the tackle.
Chadwick, the possession type receiver, came in '89 from Detroit. Not big and strong, but he breaks right under Scansey, reads the zone well. Now watch him read it right here. Now he'll pull up and stop right there. And Craig is reading with him, and he gets the first down.
He fits very well into the scheme of things, Chadwick, and people like Scansey here. It's an offense without a lot of speed, possession-type offense. They need to control the ball, and that's why Fenner could be so important in the long run with a ground game from the 33-yard line. Craig hits the tight end, Travis McNeil, and he seeks that first down marker and beyond and is there for a first down.
One of the problems Cincinnati has had defensively, even though they've been playing very aggressive this year, and it's really a hangover from last year, is that they do not rush the quarterback well. They do not get to the quarterback. They only got to quarterback 33 times last year. They're not doing that again this year, and that time Craig had 4 receivers in that pattern, all the time in the world to get to the receiver, and he just went right down the line, looked here, looked there, and finally found the open man. You've got to put a little pressure on him, and the Bengals have just not been doing that.
First down, Seattle at the 44. Game tied 3-3, 10:30 to go in the half. Craig airing it out down the sideline, and the good coverage that time on Tommy Kane, who couldn't get free, provided by Carl Carter.
Well, that's what separates the average receiver in the National Football League and the great ones is the great ones, when they seem to pull parallel to that cornerback, all of a sudden seem to shift gears. They reach down for that little explosion that moves them by the corner and the ability to get under the ball. But watch this. It's going to be Carl Carter and Tommy Kane dead even, and Kane really not able to separate himself. Carter easily loping side by side.
Well, they're happy with both their corners they picked up this year. Carl Carter you saw there, and Rod Jones. They needed one because Eric Thomas could be gone for the season.
2nd and 10. Fenner out to the 49, stopped by James Francis. You know, you look at the Seahawks, you have to keep in mind, up until this year, 3 very popular figures no longer here. Steve Largent, the great receiver, having retired. Kurt Warner, their ace running back for so many years, now playing with the LA Rams. He was an unprotected Plan B. And Brian Bosworth, as far as I know, the one thing I do know he's doing is paying Screen Actors Guild dues.
Making movies, and a pair of bad shoulders forced Bosworth to leave the game of football. He leads the game. There's our boy Steve Largent. Bosworth leads the game, leaving it the highest paid per tackle player in the history of the game.
3rd and 5, and a little slant, and a catch is made by Brian Blades, and that should be enough for a first down, though they're going to move it back to the 46-yard line. I still think he has it. It's going to be close enough, though, to measure. It appears he does have a first down.
One thing about the Boz before he left Seattle in the National Football League is that he at least made Bo Jackson's all-time highlight film.
Didn't he?
Right here in the Kingdom. We saw that play down on the goal line where the Boz got a free ride into the end zone on Mr. Bo Jackson's shoulders.
Another good look from the end zone camera, and a diving catch by Brian Blades. Full concentration. He does get the first down, but good effort by Blades. Again, they go to Blades on 3rd down.
Well, Blades is the only one of their receivers that really has any explosiveness after he catches the ball. I mean, you look at guys like Rice and John Taylor in San Francisco, not only are they gifted in their ability to get open, but it's the things they do after they catch the ball. And Brian Blades here in Seattle, I think, is the only receiver who has big play potential after he makes the catch.
First down at the 46-yard line. Craig on an out route. This is Blades. He turns it back in and takes it to the 33 for a first down. Stopped by Francis and Billups.
And meanwhile, a very nice drive underway here by the Seahawks.
That time they used Francis to help Billups. They dropped Francis in front of Blades. But again, the key to that was that Dave Craig had all the time in the world. He wanted to throw that out. It takes a long time to set up and get it out there. No pressure. And Blades gets open, and even the double coverage doesn't help.
1st and 10, Seattle at the 33-yard line. This drive began at the Seahawk 20. Fake to Fenner. Williams makes the catch.
Nice.
25-yard line.
Nice hands.
And James Francis gets credit for his 7th tackle of the game.
That's as tough a catch, Frank. You've been in that position before. I mean, that's something that just goes down as another catch by John L. Williams. But that was splendid.
I'll tell you, that kind of reception and the fact that the game is designed for quarterback Dave Craig is why Dave Craig's passing percentage is up there about 60%. It's a short, high percentage pass, and look at that. Soft touch, keeps his eye on it. Very difficult catch, and he made it look easy.
2nd and 3. Bengals jump, and there's no play here. It was going to be a free play, but it's over before the inception as Natsu Tua Tagovailoa made contact.
Craig is saying there was no contact. Why couldn't we go with it? He's got a point.
Well, I think we may have had a false start on the left side of the Seahawk offensive line.
False start prior to the snap.
That's
offense, left side.
Only an old left tackle could have spotted that.
Well, I think Andy Heck, the left tackle, might have given a flinch, and that's what actually brought Cincinnati across the line of scrimmage.
And it was a good move on the part of the Cincinnati defensive end. I think it's McClendon.
Okay, here's the reverse. Take a look, 2nd or 3rd guy up. Watch the number 66. There it is right there. There's the false start. Now you saw a Cincinnati guy had moved first, but that's fine. A defensive guy can come across and go back. Tua Tagovailoa came across the line, but he's allowed to go back. You like that, huh?
Yeah.
Tua Tagovailoa?
I like that you did it first.
Yeah, I could have called him that too. That too, Tua Tagovailoa.
2nd and 8.
There he is. Oh.
Picks up the first down and is tackled at the 14.
Dave Craig, he'll peck you to death when he gets hot. He's streaky. He's tough. Got a drive now that started back at the 20-yard line. This time there is pressure.
Go ahead,
Pulls
Frank.
the ball down.
Who is it? Tua Tagovailoa.
There. Not two. Tua Tagovailoa.
I like. Totally unblocked here. It's Tua Tagovailoa. There, I almost blew it.
Seahawks have marched 65 yards, 1st and 10 as they take it at the 15-yard line. And give it to Fenner, who scored 3 touchdowns last week. And he plows forward to the 6. In behind Grant Fiesel he goes, setting up a 2nd and 2.
An outstanding surge by the Seahawk offensive line. Boy, they just blew the Bengals off the line of scrimmage. There's Fiesel, number 54, the center.
Textbook drive. We have 6:09 to play first half. Game tied 3-3.
This is a line that has Ronnie Lee filling in at the right tackle spot. Ron Mattis not able to go tonight.
2nd and 2 with 3 tight ends in the game, and they give it to Fenner seeking that first down, and he's close. Gets to the 5. They have to get just inside the 5 for a first.
Well, they're not inside the 5.
Nope. They have a 3rd and less than 1 coming up. They came up on 2nd and 2 with 3 tight ends. And
Frills comes in. The other lineman and Blades will go out. This, at least ostensibly, is the short yardage offense where you'd anticipate the run.
Again, 3 tight ends here, 3rd and inches from just outside the 5. John L. Williams should have it. Stopped by Kevin Walker.
Well, there's about 500 pounds of running backs working for the Seahawks right now. Williams goes about 230. Fenner about 230.
What a collision in the hole. Watch Kevin Walker. He's going to come around unblocked and meet John L. right at the 5. Search and destroy. That's an inside linebacker's job down on the goal line.
They're going to measure, but it did appear as though Williams picked it up.
This drive starting at the Seahawk 20. 13 plays have been run by Seattle, and 14th will be a 1st and goal.
They're doing a couple of things with this drive. They moved, again, as Al said, from the 20-yard line, 13 plays, but more than anything else, they've kept the ball away from Cincinnati, and the explosiveness of that offense that we talked about all night. If you don't have it, you're not going to put points on the board.
In the parlance of baseball, you don't want to get into a home run hitting contest with the Cincinnati Bengals. This is the way to play them.
You're right.
1st and goal from just inside the 5. Fenner, touchdown.
John L. Williams out in front of that one. John L. Williams, we talked about his reception, the soft hands. We watched him get the first down, putting his head down. And that time, lead block against Kevin Walker. We saw him a moment ago. He'll take you on, and Williams took him on.
Watch the left guard, Edwin Bailey, number 65, pull out.
Now watch 32 right there.
Yep.
That's the block that springs it.
The kick out by Bailey, and then the lead block in the hole, and boy, a well-executed drive that time by the Seahawks.
Isn't it funny? You saw the offensive lineman, I saw the offensive back. I wonder why.
Well, if either one of them didn't do it, he wouldn't be in the end zone.
That was just textbook, the way you put it on the board.
Yeah, we saw those 2 blocks, and Derek Fenner will get his name in the paper tomorrow.
Let's watch Walker again. And he takes on John L. Williams for the 2nd consecutive time, and he loses twice. Even though it's a good effort as Fenner gets it into the end zone.
4:48 left in the half. come to Seattle. Al Michaels, Frank Ifford, and Dan Deerdorf. A rapidly moving game. 4:48 to go in the first half. Seahawks on top 10-3. Norm Johnson to kick off. Eric Ball and Stanford Jennings back to receive, and it's Jennings from the 2. It's a block from Ball and runs it back out to the 27-yard line, where he's tackled by Melvin Jenkins. Four minutes, 38 seconds remaining in the first half. Bengals at their own 28-yard line. Jerry Seaman asked for time. The Bengals down by 7, trying to stay unbeaten. Seattle up by 7, seeking their first win. Made the National League playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals will play 5 straight road games. They left Cincinnati yesterday. They've come here. They'll remain here until next week, go to LA to face the Rams, go home, regroup, go to Houston on the 14th, up to Cleveland for a Monday night game on the 22nd, then down to Atlanta, and then finally they go home in November. Total distance 7,858 miles. Not even enough for an upgrade unless they're premier. From the 28-yard line, Esiason on first down has it dropped by the tight end Rodney Holman. Second down. So the Bengals, a road show for the entire month of October. The flip side of that, of course, is that they'll play 6 of their last 8 games this season at home. And there it is. It's been all the way back to 1936 since a team has played 5 road games in the same month. The Bears and the Packers living out of suitcases in November of 36.
And they were doing it on a train.
Yeah. Second and 10 from the 28-yard line as Brooks goes in motion. Esiason fumbles again. It's picked up by Green. And he is stopped at the line of scrimmage.
That's twice now that Esiason has fumbled. The second fumble of the game between Boomer Esiason and either a center or now this time someone in the backfield. A sloppy ball handling by Cincinnati.
Reminder coming up, college football, Illinois and Howard Griffith, who in his last outing scored 8 touchdowns in 1 game against Southern Illinois. The Illini takes on Ohio State. Some of you see Arizona against UCLA and their brilliant young quarterback Tommy Maddox, who led them to a come-from-behind win. College football Saturday, 3:30 Eastern time.
See if Ohio State can rebound from that loss to USC.
Third down and 11. See if they can get a complete game in. 3rd and 11 from the 27-yard line. And Esiason forced to run and is well short of the first down as the Bengals will have to punt.
I don't know whether you all noticed, but this is very one-sided. Seattle, they're controlling it offensively, and they have handled anything that Cincinnati wants to put out there offensively. So it's frustrating for this man, Sam White, who at least in the first few games are 3-0. They've had very explosive offense. It's been a full fizzle here thus far in the first half.
Bengals have led the league in touchdowns in each of the last 2 years. Lee Johnson's kick, fielded at the 26. This is James Jefferson. Oh, what a block! And he takes it back out to the 34-yard line. That's highlight film material. Tom Kallmeyer was the man who lays out one of the Bengals.
This hurts to watch.
Punts for a living. Here's Carl Zander. Here's Kallmeyer right here, and you see that? That's called the ear hole. Wham! Right in the ear hole. Tom Kallmeyer puts it on Carl Zander. He never saw it coming.
And the Seahawks begin this drive from the 35, 2:59 to go in the half, and Derek Fenner fumbles the football. The Bengals surround it. And the Bengals are sure they have it. Nothing yet from the officials.
Now, we talked about John L. Williams earlier in the game with a fumble. Now Fenner, who fumbled last week against Denver, coughs it up and loses it this time. Seattle, good field position.
Jason Buck is the man who recovers.
And Chuck Knox, I can tell you, he's been around a long time, and anyone's ever been associated with him knows the kind of man he is. He does not want anyone to give up that football.
I think Kevin Walker is the guy, fellas, that gets it out of there. There's Walker that comes in with the left shoulder. And this ball is, nobody from Seattle is anywhere near it. You can see Jason Buck there in the upper right-hand part of your screen. He's credited with the recovery.
All right, to run reckless and with abandon, but protect the football.
First down, Cincinnati. Green, nice move to the outside. That's a 225-pound running back. And Green is out of bounds near the first down marker at the 27.
That's the second time we've seen him do that already this half. Take a ball that was intended to go up inside somewhere around the guard area and then just bounce to the outside. And you can see the Seattle defense, not really knowing a whole lot about Harold Green, is not containing him. They just believe a guy that big can't get around the corner with that much ease.
He very quietly became the second leading rusher in the history of South Carolina, over 3,000 yards, 4.3 average. Yeah, Sam watched why he waited till the second round, why he was there. He said, well, he had a sore ankle when he was a senior. Other than that, there's nothing wrong with him. They were surprised he was there.
Second only to George Rogers of Columbia. Darren Como makes the tackle on Green, taking it to the 25-yard line. Update baseball for you. Fenway Park. Boston's lead is now 3-2 over Chicago in the 8th inning. Baltimore has added another run in the 8th. And in the game at Fenway, the White Sox are still hitting in the 8th inning. So Baltimore leads Toronto, and the Red Sox lead Chicago. Boston ahead by a game at the start of play tonight. And we have come upon the 2-minute warning at the Kingdome in Seattle. Bengals at the Seahawks 25 when we come back. Seattle on top, 10-3. The White Sox have added another run. They have scored 3 times in the 8th inning. They are still hitting. So the White Sox are tied with the Red Sox 3-3, and Baltimore leads Toronto 5-3 at Memorial Stadium in the 8th there. Here, 2 minutes to go, first half, 10-3 Seattle, and 2nd and 8 for Cincinnati at the Seattle 25. Toss to Brooks. And upended after a pickup of 2, Nesby Glasgow in his 12th year, and a very popular man out of the University of Washington. There for the stop.
Well, Glasgow opens up the game with a solo open field tackle of James Brooks, and now that we move inside the 2-minute warning, comes knifing up on support. Excellent work here by the Seahawks secondary. Keep in mind the Bengals still have all 3 of their timeouts remaining. A very deliberate attack here by Cincinnati.
3rd and a short 6.
And the 2 tight ends stay in with the 2 wide receivers and the single back.
1:20 left on the clock. Fumble again, the 3rd time, and Esiason just can cover up at the 34-yard line, and it's going to be 4th down. And you're looking at right now a field goal probably out of the range of Jim Breach.
And again, this is another fumbled exchange between Bruce Kozerski, his center, and Boomer Esiason.
You know, and you wonder how many times in the course of a week, 100, 200, 300 times, they snap the ball without a problem.
Well, this is a veteran center and a veteran quarterback. Well, it's difficult to speculate as to whether or not Boomer's pulling out early, whether the center didn't bring it all the way up.
Well, it is 4th down. It would be a 51, 52-yarder for Breach, and that's too much for him. And the Bengals right now are assuming basically a defensive posture. What they're going to do on 4th down is let the clock run down as far as it can, take the penalty, and if they have to punt, it'll be a little pooch.
And, of course, the seconds come off the clock for Seattle. We're down to 33 seconds.
That's what they were doing, because that fumble by Esiason not only cost them the opportunity to convert a 3rd down, but took them out of that man's range. So it's 4th down, 33 seconds to go in the half. When Seattle gets the ball back, they have all of their timeouts left. But they really don't have the type of offense that can capitalize that quickly.
They're basically saying that our field goal kicker can't kick at 51 yards.
That's what they're, yep, exactly.
And the 5-yard for the delay doesn't really hurt them at all. If anything, gives the punter a little more room to maneuver.
Well, that'd be very scary for a lot of teams when you can't possibly kick a field goal from 51 yards.
Well, they could have thought about using Johnson. He's kicked some long field goals in the past, but he punts here. And it is fair caught, and a flag is down because contact was made. James Jefferson called for the fair catch. And then with illegal contact, that'll cost Cincinnati a few yards and leave the Bengals with 25, or the Seahawks with 25 ticks of the clock remaining.
Well, I don't know how you can call that, though. I don't know how you can call that. How do you expect this Cincinnati guy to get out of the way? I mean, watch this. First of all, the movement is going to take him all the way over to the side. And there's Walker, 59, who tries to get... Oh, come on. You can't call that. No way can you call that.
Yep. Walker gave it everything he could to get away from it.
And they may not call it. That flag could be picked up.
Well, plus it came in so late, but
yeah.
I don't know that Kevin Walker could have done anything else to get out of Jefferson's way.
Hey, Kevin Walker's making the all-ISO team tonight, if nothing else. There was a flag back at the original line of scrimmage, by the way.
Back at the 42.
So
Bengals are indicating it's against
that's
Seattle at the line of scrimmage.
We have holding number 90 defense on the line of scrimmage.
Wow.
He pulled an offensive player aside to shoot a teammate. Consequently, it'll be first down, Cincinnati.
Whoa.
There was no infraction.
That's
down
a big
there.
one.
No infraction at the other end of the field.
You've heard the
First
term.
down.
You've heard the term rookie mistake. That's a rookie. Terry Wood, number 90.
Boy, and that is costly. And look at Chuck Knox. He'll tell you how costly that is. That keeps Cincinnati alive, gives them a first down. No matter what it was going to be, they were going to have to turn it over with no points.
Well, what the deal is, and you work on this all the time on special teams, is someone is responsible for pulling someone out of the way to create a seam so a blocker can get through there and try to block the field goal or extra point or a punt. In this case, a punt.
Now Knox takes a timeout here just to get his defense settled down. At the 34, the crowd is chanting something about a product you might find in a lawn service center.
Pardon me.
Timeout. 25 seconds remaining. Seattle up.
Look at this right here. Here's Terry Wooden, and watch him pull Leo Barker. This is the defensive hold. He's trying to pull Barker out of the way, and you can see the right hand. He's just got him by the jersey and dragged him all the way down the line of scrimmage. On a fourth down punt, the defensive hold brings an automatic first down. 25 seconds left here in the first half, and that's a mistake that just might cost us team points.
First down, Cincinnati. They have all of their timeouts. The crowd can be deafening here, but the Bengals worked on this in practice last week at Spinney Field in Cincinnati with blaring loudspeakers, so they go on a silent count. From the 34, Esiason looks for Eddie Brown, and it's knocked away. Brown tried to one-hand it, and Robert Blackman was there to cover.
Double coverage, and only rightfully so. Great respect for Eddie Brown. You got Blackman there, and you got Patrick Hunter underneath him, and Esiason really had no way to get it in there.
Eddie Brown, the only deep receiver. Tim McGee was working short, so it's double coverage, short and long. And look at Eddie. Look at Eddie almost bring that thing down with his right hand. You know, he was close to stabbing that thing and snaring it. One of the great receivers in the National Football League, Eddie Brown.
Now Brooks goes as a wide receiver, top of your screen. He can do that, the little running back.
They send him over the middle. Esiason gets flushed out. Throws, and there's Brown, who makes the catch, is out of bounds at the 16-yard line, and we're down to 13 seconds.
Great play by Esiason. We saw him earlier. Dan commented on the flick of the wrist when he could do nothing else to deliver it. That time he spun away from the sack and was able to, again, flick it right on a line, get the completion, and get the first down inside the 20.
Well, and the key there is that that completion puts them inside a breach field goal range. They were too long for Jim Breach's field goal, but they have moved inside that range easily now. And now Sam Weiss is thinking one thing with Boomer. He's thinking touchdown.
First and 10 at the 15, 13 seconds remaining. He throws to the tight end. That is Caddis. Caddis gets taken down at the 9. He was inbounds, but they call a timeout. We have 5 seconds remaining, and now Breach can come in for a chip shot.
Well, Sam Weiss would have he would like to have another 3 seconds or so on the clock so he could take one more play. He'd like to take one more stab at it.
He would, but put yourself in the coach's shoes right now. You have 5 seconds. You really can't take
No,
the
you
chance.
can't do it. He would have had that time if Eric Caddis maybe would have gone out of bounds.
Yep.
Rather than attempt to fight for a couple more yards. I mean, you certainly can't criticize Caddis for showing some competitiveness and trying to get into the end zone, but if he jumps out of bounds, you've got a couple more timeouts.
Stick with us at halftime. We'll spotlight the day of the receiver. Yesterday, a big day for a lot of wide receivers, tight ends around the NFL.
Stick around with the second half, too. All of a sudden, Seattle is playing Cincinnati very tough. The Bengals blew New England out last week very early, 31 points. It was all over at halftime. Not so here in Seattle.
26-yard attempt. Johnson will put it down. And that's Breach's second field goal. And so that holding call against Terry Wooden winds up costing Seattle 3 points. And that's a milestone kick because Jim Breach now with 1,001 career points, tacking on 3 here. The 16th player in the history of the league to be up in 4 figures.
Good little man. He had a long talk with Norm Johnson, the trouble kicker for the...
Lucas McCain. Was it the name of that town? Northport?
Yeah. Good stuff. Was it Lucas McCain now?
What was his son's name? I know his real name was like Peter Brown or something. What was his son's name? Joey?
Chuck Connor, wasn't it? Wasn't it Chuck Connor? Was he the rifleman?
Are we still on the air?
Sound like Phil Rizzuto.
Little grounder with 2 seconds left in the half, and so this will be the final play barring a penalty. Chris Warren runs it back, and that's the end of the first half. Well, the Bengals were only favored by 2.5 or 3, and the folks who make that line knew what they were talking about. Because the Seahawks lead by 4 at the half, 10-6. And back we come with halftime activities after this. Seahawks looking for their first win. Jennings. he was close to being out past the goal line. But Seaman is right there. And there is a flag down. There's a flag down at the 28-yard line. So let's get the call here from Jerry Seaman.
There is no infraction on the play because we have a touchback. There can be no holding. First down.
Well, there can be holding. It just doesn't count.
Would have come back anyway. NFL news. Keith Millard, the great Vikings defensive tackle, out for the year. Knee surgery. Chargers place the kicker Fuad Reveiz on waivers. And we'll come back with this other story in a second here as the Bengals come up to the line. But Commissioner Tagliabue appointing Philip Hyman, a Harvard law professor, to investigate the allegations of misconduct in the Lisa Olson situation, the Boston Reporter, involving the Patriots. The commissioner...
Because we had a touchback, there was no return. Consequently, the flag is picked up. First down.
All right, just reaffirming what he said. The commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, was here. I asked him when he expected a resolution in that Patriots situation. He couldn't give me a time frame. He said it'll probably be in the neighborhood of 2 weeks to a month. From the 20-yard line, Esiason trying to hit Brooks, and it was knocked away by Terry Wooden, the linebacker who committed that very costly holding infraction at the end of the first half.
Good coverage by the rookie out of Syracuse. He picked up one of the most difficult backs to cover out of the backfield, James Brooks, and he was stride for stride with him, and Esiason threw it as well as he could, and Wooden knocked it away. At least his body knocked it away. Get both of those hands up. Well, it's all right. That's not face guard or anything. He had them both up, and he played it just right.
He actually employed the Christian Okoye defense. Knocked it away with his head.
2nd and 10 from the 20. Brooks for 1. Joe Nash makes the tackle. 3rd and 9. Just to button up that situation that got so much play over the last few days. The commissioner again appointing the special counsel to investigate it and continue on in a situation, as I say, that has been played to the hilt over the last 5 days. And I think what they're trying to avoid is trial by media more than anything else here.
Which is basically what it has been up to this point in time. Although I question that it would actually take that long to ascertain what happened. I mean, we're not talking about the Iran-Contra hearings here. I mean, this happened in a locker room. Many people were present. But can it really take this long to get a definitive answer as to exactly what happened?
Well, you know the legal process.
Well, until there is a definitive answer, I agree, Dan. Somebody should get up there and get on, and I presume that is what this commission is for, or special counsel is for. But again, until there's a cloud over a lot of people. They're not naming names, and they're not out there, and until they do, I mean, one would suspect that an entire team is playing and living under that cloud of suspicion.
Well, the only name is Zeke Moat at this point, as Lee Johnson's kick after Esiason misfired on 3rd down is a boomer back to the 24-yard line. James Jefferson eludes ball and then brings it back to the 31.
Well, you mentioned Zeke Moat, Al. I think Victor Kayam would be quick to tell you that his name has been muddied.
But the other players that were allegedly involved, I mean, they should be, and certainly if what happened indeed did happen, there absolutely is disgusting, is no way for it should be. This thing went out years and years ago, and it really is a tragic thing.
It's more than a gender issue, I think. It's an issue of decency, a matter of
absolutely of human decency, whether it was a woman or a man.
From the 31-yard line, 1st and 10, Seattle. Craig for a first down. The catch made by Tommy Kane up at the 43-yard line.
And once again, Dave Craig just dropped back into the pocket. Total protection, and that pattern takes a tremendous amount of time to develop. Kane with about a 15-yard sprint. He turns around and comes back to the football. No pressure on Craig, and all the pressure was on the cornerback trying to cover him, Carl Carter.
You touched on it there, Frank, and you talked about it earlier in the first half. Cincinnati is mounting nary a pass rush against Dave Craig and the Seahawks. They don't have a great one, but it's pretty much non-existent so far.
1st and 10 from the 40. Yeah, that's all you had to say, Dan.
I did it.
And the key man, Francis, the rookie from Baylor, they move all around the line of scrimmage. That's his 4th sack of this season. Watch him again. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. Nobody gets a good shot at him. A little effort by Ronnie Lee, who is filling in there for an injured Ron Mattis.
Oh, you could see the confusion there between Ronnie Lee and John L. Williams. Ronnie Lee slides to the inside, and then rather than just getting all the way in front of Francis and picking him up, just gives him a shoulder. That's not going to get it done.
He who hesitates.
2nd and 19, Seattle from the 33. John L. Williams started to stumble and then is taken down at the 40-yard line. Ronnie Lee made the block to get him going.
John L. just goes down by himself. That's one of those deals where the players come out the next day and John L. will come out on the field, 3 or 4 of them will be down on their hands and knees on the far side of the field, and John L. will go, "What are you guys doing?" And they'll say, "Well, we're looking for that trap door that opened up here yesterday and tripped you while you were running." No one even touched John L. Williams that time, and he goes down.
3rd and 11, Seattle at the 41. 11:55 to play 3rd quarter. 4-point Hawk lead.
Let's see if Craig goes to Brian Blades. He's the top of your screen.
4 wideouts. And he goes to Chadwick, and Chadwick seeks that first down, but I don't think he has it. He's a yard short. He's tackled by Carter. He had to get to the Bengal 48, and he's at about the 48.5.
Just man coverage all the time by Carl Carter that time on Chadwick, and you had the impression that Carter really knew where the stakes were and drove Chadwick out of bounds before he was able to get it. This has been a pleasant find, this gentleman, for the Cincinnati Bengals, formerly with the Phoenix Cardinals, and he has really blended in nicely to the Bengal secondary.
Rick Donnelly in his first year with Seattle, missed last year on injured reserve, formerly with the Falcons. This will be his first punt of the night. It's a low snap, but he gets it away. Fair catch is called for, but letting it bounce was Mitchell Price, and it goes through the end zone for a touchback. So the Bengals, held without a touchdown through the first 30 minutes, will take over at the 20, trailing 10-6.
Nothing beats Nothing beats the king of beers. Nothing beats clean, crisp, and cold. This is the best, and we got it right here. Yeah. Nothing beats the bud, yeah, nothing beats the bud, yeah, nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the bud.
This is great. Watch this, it's a test. These guys think that both of these are aquariums. Wrong. Actually, one of them is a Hitachi big screen TV. Thanks to Ultravision with its ultra clear, ultra bright, ultra sharp picture. They don't have a clue which is which. Okay, time's up. It's this one! Hey, where are you going? You're gonna miss the commercial. Ultravision, only from Hitachi.
It is here. A level of quality that 5 years ago was just a goal. 84 models redesigned and engineered. 7 entirely new this year. Announcing the GM offer of quality. A time of special values now at Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC truck dealers. Where you can see the newest ways that GM is putting quality on the road.
Record-breaking running back Howard Griffith leads Illinois against Ohio.
Red Sox win over the next 2 days, or one Toronto loss, and the Red Sox go to the playoffs. Here, Cincinnati at the 20. First and 10, Esiason throwing, and a juggling catch is made by Tim McGee, who's been relatively silent to this point. A gain of 16 to the 36.
Well, I thought there was some question as to whether he had possession of this ball when he went out of bounds. Tim McGee did not put this ball away cleanly at first. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, Patrick Hunter getting a little room, won't he? Well, they're going to take a look at it even as we speak.
I think there's a question as to whether Tim McGee had possession of the ball when he went out of bounds.
We got off on a series of these last week, and we ran off about 5 in a row. The Jets-Buffalo game. Now, did he have possession? Can you tell positively whether he did or didn't?
First down.
It stands.
Yeah, you're going to, again, keep in mind, it was ruled a catch on the field, so you're going to have to see something that conclusively overturns that, and you didn't see it. A brilliant job there by McGee of keeping both his feet on the field.
Brilliant job by the replay official, too. That's a quick look. Play stands, and on we go. First down from the 36.
It's nice when it works like that.
Yeah, it's the way it should work. Green.
Oh, some serious holding there on the right side.
Yeah, there's your flag, too. And a major flag right in there also.
I think it was Eric Caddis at tight end. Eric, you're not going to get away with that. You're out for all the world to see and leading the play.
Working against Terry Wooden, the rookie from Syracuse.
Here is Eric Caddis right here at the tight end. Watch him try to get the hook block here on Terry Wooden. And when you're at the point of attack, see, Wooden beats him to the outside, but boy, there's the left hand really doing some serious yanking on the old jersey. A good effort that time by Wooden of doing his job and doing it correctly.
You know, if that had been James Brooks carrying that ball to the outside instead of the rookie Green, Brooks would have taken that back to the inside, and it would have been an easy block for Caddis. As it was strung out, and he got the hold.
I think that's a very good point, Frank. That's sometimes where a running back can alleviate some of the problems that his guys up front face.
First and 20 from the 26. Goes for Brown, who's the man in motion, and good defense. Number 27, Patrick Hunter, is there. And Brown has been quiet tonight. McGee had been quiet until he had made his first catch just moments ago, as the Seahawks are doing a good job on the Cincinnati wideout.
Oh, and there's the quick snap. There's the quick snap.
And there's a flag, and that normally means too many men on the field.
Well, Cincinnati also did not look like they were set for the full beat.
This is a problem Jerry Seaman's not crazy about having to deal with, but Seattle was in the midst of a massive substitution.
You have 2 flags, actually. One at the line of scrimmage and one well upfield.
The whole idea of that offense, the huddle at the line of scrimmage, is to catch the defense trying to change personnel. Get the 12th man on the field, you force them to play the defense that's out there, or run the risk of getting caught.
we had 12 men on the field on the defense. It was caused by a quick substitution on the offense. They also had 12 men on the field, but because of the quick substitution, we are going to go back and replay the down.
If you substitute somebody, then you have to give the defensive unit a reasonable time to make their own substitutions, and that's exactly what happened. Chuck Knox anticipating today when we were talking with him.
And very clearly spelled out by Jerry Seaman. That's exactly the way a referee should do it.
That's good use of his field, Mike.
And you know that's the case because Sam White had no complaint.
It'll be 2nd and 20 from the 26.
Now the officials have not even started the play clock here. This is not the Bengals holding things up. These are the officials. There you see it set on 25, which Jerry and Boomer having a little conversation here. Did you see that? Kozerski wipe his hands on Boomer Esiason's shoulder pads. You wonder if he's not perspiring to the point where maybe that's part of the problem. Keep in mind that Boomer's already fumbled the ball 3 times in this game.
Either that or superstitious.
Two of them bad exchanges with his center, Kozerski.
Or it's an old Tibetan ritual. 2nd and 20.
There was another false start.
Yep.
We saw a flinch on the left side of the Cincinnati line.
False start prior to the snap, number 78 offense, still second down.
Well, it's not often that the great one gets flagged for anything. The best offensive lineman in the National Football League right now is Anthony Munoz, and
when they call him, Dan, aren't you tempted to think everyone else was wrong?
It's what happened is that I think it was Jeff Bryant who flinched on the line of scrimmage for Seattle, and that caused the great one to move. What a fabulous football player, Anthony Munoz. You know what he is? He's a tackle. He's also the best football player on that field.
2nd and 25, and we've got another flag.
Oh, now that might, you got to be careful, Rufus, that doesn't bring out a penalty. That's a Joe Turk. Rufus, you're acting real stupid, my man. That's not smart. Remember back when Joe Turkey Jones picked up Terry Bradshaw and corkscrewed him into the ground. You're lucky if you get away with picking up a quarterback and body slamming him. Now, that was borderline flagrant, and Rufus Porter just got away with it.
But you're risking also getting thrown out of a game, thrown out of a defense that is totally dominating the Bengals. Take a look at him again.
That really, watch this and see. This is very close. I mean, the play is over.
Yeah.
And he throws Boomer to the ground. That's a stupid play by Rufus Porter.
Borderline flagrant. That's a grand jury indictment.
Yeah. And then he takes a swing at him when Boomer doesn't like it, and there comes the late flag. No, that's a not very smart play by Rufus Porter. And his mistake is going to get Cincinnati out of this hole. Watch this. Cincinnati was facing a 2nd and 4 ever.
We had offside on the defense. That penalty is declined. We had personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 97 defense. That will be a first down.
Oh, that hurts.
0-3 teams can't keep shooting themselves in the foot. And Seattle is on the verge of doing that right now.
And last week, too, as well as they played in Denver, one of the things that helped cost them that game, 80 yards in penalties.
And I don't think Chuck Knox is complaining about the officiating. He's been around long enough to know that what's really sad about that is that Rufus dodged the bullet initially. He didn't get called for the body slam. He got called for taking a swing at Esiason after he objected to it. He got away with the body slam, which should have been flagged.
It will be first down at the 30-yard line, 1st and 10. 9:34 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Seattle leads 10-6.
Oh, great.
Batted away by guess who? Porter.
Yeah.
Again, they moved Porter around. That time they had him out on the right side. He came absolutely free. Nobody in front of him, and nobody dropped back to pick him up. Well, take a look. There he is, the right side, weak side, no tight end on that side. The back circles out in a flood action. One of them should have taken a shot at Porter. He's quick. He's so fast getting in there.
Frank, it looked like Cincinnati was going to slide their offensive line over and just didn't get there quick enough. I mean, nothing fancy about that. That was a straight 4-3 defense.
2nd and 10.
Oh, and here comes the crowd.
Well, we mentioned they worked on this.
And Boomer, he didn't get the play clock stopped in time. No, he's not going to get this from Jerry Seaman. No. Yep. You've got to turn around and you've got to get the referee to acknowledge that he's stopping the play clock. Esiason didn't do it. He got up there with short of seconds and hoped that Seaman would bail him out, and Seaman did.
And this is what the Bengals have prided themselves on being able to do, and that is to control the sound.
Oh, it'll be quiet now, though.
Yeah, right.
The decibel count's going to blow us out of here. Here it comes.
Second and 15. And again, it's batted and
Porter.
almost picked off.
Ooh, Jeff Bryant almost got it. And Rufus. That's the way you make up for a mistake. Jeff Bryant came so close, even down on the ground, came so close to coming up with the ball.
Watch Boomer again. Now, he's looking that way, but I don't blame him for looking that way because everybody's been coming absolutely free. And again, it was deflected and almost picked off.
Rufus hit it, and Jeff Bryant almost intercepted it.
There's Porter across the line. He was across the line, but they don't snap it. Now they do. Fake the draw on 3rd and 15. Esiason was timed, and it is incomplete. No, he did not pick it off. He was out of bounds. Melvin Jenkins.
He did pick it off, but he was out of bounds.
And there's an injured Bengal up at the 42-yard line.
Was that Eddie Brown? It's either 81 or 87. I'm not sure which one it is. 87 is their tight end, Jim Riggs.
McGee, the intended receiver, and again, the double coverage. Both McGee and Brown have been drawing it all night.
I believe it's Brown. I see Riggs in the huddle right now. And Eddie Brown, who has caught 2 passes for a total of 38 yards tonight.
That is Eddie Brown. And right now, Eddie Brown is not the only one grimacing. Everyone who follows the Cincinnati Bengals is right down there on the turf with Eddie Brown.
As it says, the only player in the league to catch a TD pass in each of the first 3 weeks, and he caught 1 in each of the last 2 games last year for a streak of 5 straight.
The doctors go right to flexing that left knee.
He was just coming across from the right side in a crossing pattern. Maybe we can pick it up from the end zone. Looking from the back, Brown crossing. There he comes into your screen right there. He got hit, actually hit his leg against, I think it was Glasgow, the safety man. It was not the kind of a twisting blow or where he got the foot caught. He hit his left leg against Glasgow, the safety.
That's contact when you're not expecting it, and a lot of times that's when a guy gets hurt. Eddie Brown attempting to get over and get into the play.
So they work on Brown. 9:05 to go in the 3rd.
Now Eddie Brown is putting weight on that left leg as you see him walk off. That's the good news. You see Icky Woods out there with him. But he's very, very tender. Gingerly walking. There's Icky, who went out to help his teammate. And what a loss this is for the Bengals if Eddie Brown's not able to come back for the rest of this game.
So it's 4th down now. Lee Johnson to punt. James Jefferson back to receive for Seattle. Jefferson from the 37 to the 47, where he's run out of bounds by Kevin Walker. Seahawks take over near midfield. Seahawk defense continues to do its job. Craig and company takes over with 8:56 to go in the 3rd quarter. Hawks by 4. You're here for owner Ken Behring. Tom Flores looking on as his Seahawks lead by a count of 10-6. They take over at their own 46. 8:45 to go in the 3rd quarter. Craig slings it out for Williams.
Nice.
He takes it to the 47 and is a marker down, 2 in fact. Walker and Fulcher converge on the stop.
Boy, that's a nifty little move there by John L. Williams on David Fulcher.
Could have caused a face mask, too.
Face mask, 5-yard penalty, defense, 59, 1st down.
Well, they're saying that Kevin Walker was the player that came in with the face mask, but I think it was Fulcher. Here's David Fulcher, number 33. Let's see if it's not his left hand that grabs the face mask.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
He was beaten. It was almost automatic. He tried to get it out of there, but then when that head moves, that flag flies.
A misidentification by Jerry Seaman.
Point is made, though. 5-yard penalty. 1st down, Hawks at the 42-yard line.
Looks like an audible here by Dave Craig.
Derek Fenner.
Oh, he's got that ball loose, doesn't he?
Yep. 37-yard line. Kevin Walker makes the tackle.
Well, you lose one last week. He's lost one already tonight. You think he'd be squeezing that just a little bit.
Derek Fenner. A lot of people have been comparing him to, let's say, a Calvin Hill. 6'3", 228 pounds.
Physically. Well, he's big like Calvin Hill. 6'3", 230 pounds. Almost the exact dimensions of the former Yale All-American and Cowboy.
He hasn't shown that kind of
he gallops that way, too, also.
Talking about in terms of style. Build. 2nd down and 6 from the 38-yard line. Here's John L. Williams. Reverses direction. Has some room to roam. 1st down.
And I tell you what, Dave Craig,
he made a great effort, didn't he?
Dave Craig, after John L. reverses his field, you could attribute about 20 yards of that to Dave Craig getting in front of David Fulcher.
He's tough. He didn't have to hit Fulcher, but Fulcher had to run around him and kept Fulcher from making the stop.
Yeah, and Fulcher ran upfield while John L. gets around to the other side. Good work, Dave. There's Kane and Billups dancing. Little Kane attempting to undress Lewis Billups. That easily could have been called for a hold. It was so far away.
1st down at the 17. Fenner gets by Zander and takes it inside the 5.
That's pretty running. John L. Williams with the block out in front. John L. Williams has been the principal ball carrier. And last week against the Broncos, when Fenner started running so well at halftime, he said, just keep giving it to him. We're going fine. So they did 22 times. And again, Williams now leading the way for Fenner once again.
1st and goal, Seattle at the 3. 6 minutes remaining, 3rd quarter. 10-6 Seahawks. 3 tight end sets. Fenner behind Williams.
Oh, another great block by Williams. And again against Kevin Walker. Hey, you said it earlier, Dan. We're going to read about Fenner tomorrow. And perhaps justifiably, but John L. Williams twice has made the block to put Fenner in the end zone. Watch number 32. Talked about his receiving ability, his running ability. Here he takes on the linebacker Kevin Walker, who goes about 250 pounds. Makes the perfect block, and Fenner makes the read and into the end zone.
Norm Johnson for the extra point. Jeff Kemp to put it down. And the Seahawks have expanded the margin to 11.
Again, Derek Fenner, behind solid blocking, has a pretty easy time of taking it into the end zone, and now the Bengals have to play a little catch-up with Eddie Brown on the bench.
With Dave Craig handing the ball off to him, has scored 5 in 2 weeks.
That's astounding when you stop to think about it. 5 rushing touchdowns during a 16-game season.
Might explain why they were 7-9.
Their running game took a bye last year.
It sure did. Norm Johnson down to the 5-yard line. Eric Ball in his second year, former UCLA Bruin.
Ooh, he's got some speed. Turn that corner.
Out of bounds up at the 38-yard line. Well, we talked about the AFC West becoming a very tough division with the Raiders and the emerging Chargers eventually, I think, with some good defensive personnel. The Seahawks tonight, Kansas City. And next week we take a look at Denver. It's a critical game for them and for Cleveland as well.
Hey, Danny Reed's very happy coming out with the last 2 wins he's got. It has been very close. Cleveland, they've got to do it.
Well, I mean, the Cleveland Browns and Bud Carson. Bud Carson is under a lot of pressure in Cleveland. I mean, under a great deal of pressure in Cleveland. Although I don't know how happy Dan Reeves is after that affair in Buffalo.
Well, we'll take a look at a team. You're right, the Cleveland Browns. It's a very critical game for them next week. I know that's an overused word, but when you're 1-3, and if the Bengals were to win tonight, they'd already be 3 games back.
Referring to our Kansas City game and the difficult time, even with the games that they have won, Denver, it's been a tough road for them.
Well, I don't. If I had to look at the AFC West, it's difficult for me to separate the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Here at 2nd and 10, and the pass to James Brooks, and he gets to the Seattle 43-yard line.
Further to that, Dan, frankly, the way Seattle is playing tonight, they're going to win some football games. And maybe they're too far down to pull it out and win the division, but they're going to beat some football teams.
Worth repeating, it was a very controversial call and a screw up in the communication from the replay booth to the officials in the Raider game. They think that cost them that. Last week, Norm Johnson kicks a field goal. 1 of 2, and it could be 2-1 instead of 0-3. Esiason has the Bengals on the move. The catch is made by Tim McGee to the 26. Eddie Brown, meanwhile, is on the bench. He is not in at the moment, but they are saying he could return.
Well, it's kind of good news for the Bengals that he stayed on the field. He did not hurt that knee.
If he's going to return,
with any weight on it, nobody hit him. He just banged it into a defender.
He sure has a giant ice pack on his left knee.
For the moment, anyway. That's the word from the bench. 1st and 10 from the 26-yard line. Brooks runs right into Darren Como. No relation to Perry. Doesn't spell it the same way either.
There's Eddie Brown, and he does have the ice, of course, on the knee to control any possible swelling.
It's a good sign that that ice bag is on front as well. If that baby was on the back
or the side,
yeah,
on the inside,
yeah, if it has to be anywhere, you're better off having it out front.
2nd and 9. That's Smith in motion. Esiason couldn't get it to the intended receiver, the tight end Rodney Holman.
There are times, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, there are times Cincinnati has so many people going in so many different directions that they look discombobulated. This was a throw. Boomer. That you can't even call that a Joe Kapp pass. Most of Joe Kapp's got there. That one was severely wounded. It has not been a very sharp Sam Weiss offense tonight. It has not been a typical Bengal offense. Now, the minute I say that, they'll throw a touchdown pass.
Seattle defense to credit, too. They've taken a lot of things away tonight.
3rd and 8. Big rush from Porter on the outside. Esiason escapes that, comes back the other way, and no catch by Brooks, but a valiant effort. James Jefferson covering.
He had it for a moment. Couldn't come down with it. And a dangerous pass by Esiason, who was chased out of the pocket once again. He comes all the way across the field with it. Brooks with a great vertical leaping effort. And he almost controls it.
Boy, that's nice work by Jefferson. I mean, James Brooks makes that catch if Jefferson doesn't pull his arms down.
Jim Breach, this will be a 43-yard attempt. Johnson puts it down, and Breach's kick is good. So he has accounted for all of the scoring, but the Bengals still trail by more than a touchdown. That shaves the Seahawk lead to 8. Site in Seattle, the Space Needle, constructed for the World's Fair in the early 60s. The centerpiece in this beautiful city, beautiful area, great Northwest, hard by Puget Sound, where their Seahawks lead 17-9. And Johnson booms that one about 8 yards into the end zone. Chris Warren downs it there, and Dave Craig and the Seahawks will take over at the 20. Seahawks, a relatively conservative offense, and it's reflected in the fact that it's been exactly a year, October 1st, '89 against the Raiders, since the Seahawks have put it in the end zone twice in the same quarter.
It's lent itself to some wholesale changes, too. I mean, it's a young football team. They start 3 rookies out there tonight. 0-3 will reflect that.
2:53 remaining, third quarter.
Team without Steve Largent.
Craig, he dumps it off to his tight end, Ron Heller. Heller is out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. McClendon and White converge on the tackle. Heller scored a touchdown last. I'm thinking about Fenner. Fenner scored 5 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, and on another play he tipped the ball and it was caught by the tight end Heller for a touchdown. So he got an assist
last week in Denver. A good game for Dave Craig so far, with the exception of that interception, but 13 out of 16. A nice ball control passing game for Seattle tonight.
Tries to get the Bengals to jump, but no flag on 2nd and 5, and John L. Williams thrusting forward, but not enough for the first down. As David Fulcher stops him, it's going to set up a 3rd and about half a yard.
You know, one of the things the Bengals are doing are playing their defensive line about a yard off the line of scrimmage. They're lucky they're doing that, because a couple of their defensive linemen during this game have jumped, have actually moved forward, but because they're so far off the ball to begin with, they're not getting into the neutral zone. Dick LeBeau, their defensive coordinator, that's a little wrinkle he's got in this week, keeping his guys back in more of a read and react type posture.
And a lot of 4 down linemen. Now you're looking, of course, at the short yardage. Everyone lined up at the line of scrimmage in the gap.
And as a 3 tight end set, John L. Williams needs a half yard and gets 5.5 as he moves in behind Brian Millard for a first down. 1:20 remaining, third quarter. Kingdome in Seattle. Tough place for visiting teams through the years. Unlike a lot of the domes, which are now built with plexiglass and fiberglass roofs, this is all concrete, and it's loud in here. I mean, real loud. From the 34-yard line. Craig hit by Zander as he got rid of the ball, and it breaks up the play.
Zander was looking for a call of in the grasp, and he didn't get it. But very close. Wholesale changes.
Carl
the
Zander.
linebacking core for the Cincinnati Bengals. Zander, of course, a starter. Gone is the great Reggie Williams. Joe Kelly, who was traded to the Jets just before the start of the season.
Carl Zander achieved some notoriety earlier in this game when he got it right in the ear hole, covering a punt. Nice to see that he's still got his senses, or what's left of them, and still in the game. See how far off the ball Cincinnati is?
2nd and 10. Here's Fenner, back to Williams again. This time Zander and Fulcher converge to break the play up. And we're down to 35 seconds. remaining in the third quarter, and I don't suspect Seattle will be in too much of a hurry to get this play off.
Well, when you've got the lead, I think they'll be content to let that be the last play of the third quarter.
Exactly.
That's, to this point, I don't know that Chuck Knox could have his team playing much better than they have done through 3 quarters. Physically, I think you'd have to say the edge goes to Cincinnati, but right now the scoreboard edge goes to Brown Chuck's team. They're controlling the tempo of this game.
15 minutes to play at the Kingdome. 8-point Seattle lead. Will return for the fourth quarter after this word from our ABC station.
Campaigning again.
What's the deal here?
I knew you'd slip it in there somewhere. I'll never win that, baby.
I don't know what you do,
Not Cody, not the baby. I mean the contest.
No, you have that new leading man body. I like it.
Start the fourth quarter in Seattle, and Dave Craig is going to air it out by Tommy Kane for a touchdown. 63 yards.
And not what either one of them had in mind, but it got the right results.
So much for Brown Chuck. And Ricky Dixon is still looking for Tommy Kane. He got spun all the way around.
Ricky Dixon, of course, a safety man, but he was a great cornerback at Oklahoma, so he's not terribly out of position covering the speedy Tommy Kane, who catches his first touchdown pass with Seattle. He missed 11 games last year with a knee injury, and Kane just recently took off a knee brace.
Johnson for the extra point, and a flag is down. Cincinnati's long road trip, this month-long trip, is beginning on a very ominous note.
And with all the weapons that Sam White has at his beck and call.
Again, we had holding number 71 defense. He pulled an offensive player aside to allow a teammate to go in and block the kick. The extra point is good. A 5-yard penalty will be assessed on the succeeding kickoff.
Started to say Sam White with all the weapons, but one of them is on the bench, the man who plays the big catch-up for him, Eddie Brown. Let's take a look once again. This is Tommy Kane. Now he'll break it to the outside. Ricky Dixon's right with him, and Craig just lays it up on the inside. Now that's kind of difficult for a receiver to do. He is at full speed. He turns around and catches it over the other shoulder. That's a good move by Tommy Kane.
Seattle 24, Cincinnati 9. On the left, and the hero on the right.
The perpetrator. Looking that move again on the part of Kane. He was at full stride, and he spun around and caught it over the other shoulder. That's not easy to do.
Still no pass rush by Cincinnati is what set it up.
Johnson to kick off. Jennings. Well, that's the way Cincinnati's night is going. Couldn't even down it in the end zone. It falls out into the end zone. Well, Sam White is a man who believes in proverbs. His Bengals come in with a mark of 3-0 to face a team that hasn't won.
Who did this?
And that's what Sam said earlier this week.
Oh, what?
What artists we have.
Boy, we spared no expense.
Well, this man is a refreshingly candid about everything the Bengals do. When you talk with him, holds nothing back.
Cincinnati from its own 20-yard line. Esiason trying to guide his team back from a 15-point deficit. Jim Riggs, the tight end, in his fourth year out of Clemson, gets stopped by Rufus Porter to a chorus of roofs.
Well, you can see one thing. Cincinnati there with Eddie Brown on the bench was forced to go to a 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver offense. Looks like they may try to open it up. No, still they're in there with 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers. You know that without Eddie Brown, they're missing some of their big strike capabilities.
2nd and 7. Esiason fires over the middle. It's Rodney Holman And this underrated tight end takes it out to the 43. I say underrated. Yeah. There are a lot of people who think he's as good as anybody in the league. Normally, you'll hear people talking in terms of Keith Jackson of Philadelphia as being the top tight end, but here's a quiet guy who does his job every year and seems to wind up in Honolulu in February.
It's always the way they use him, too. They'll use him as an outback. They'll put him in motion, and he's a good blocker. He's a big man, 6'3", 240 pounds, but he moves like a wide receiver.
How do you like the way Al talked his way out of that underrated comment?
Like that?
That was good.
First down from the 43. And Esiason gets dumped at the 35.
Jacob Green. And blitzing Darren Como.
It looked like Boomer had released the ball. I mean, he went all the way through his motion and just decided at the last minute to pull the ball down, and then he had no chance at all to set up and try it again.
It'll be second down and 17.
Well, this is called a cuddle as opposed to the attack huddle.
Or the sugar huddle.
You're way behind huddle right now.
Rufus Esiason sacked again. Rufus Porter led the charge.
Oh, they should never penalize him back in the third quarter. They pulled a switch on him. He has been bonkers ever since.
He was right on the edge of getting thrown out of the game as well on that penalty.
Well, you're putting Rufus into a wonderful situation here. By running away from him, you're putting the fastest guy up front into a chase position. And if anything goes wrong with the play, if Boomer's timing gets wrong, it's not going to. Now, this time Rufus is the guy at the top of the screen. Nobody's going to block him. He's just in the chase mode all the way. Boomer here doesn't find it. Now it's too late. Now it's just too late. Unblocked and with great speed.
Third and 28. Brooks behind Munoz for 4 yards. It'll be 4th and 24. Jenkins runs him out of bounds. And the Seahawks, leading by 15, will get the football back.
And they have dominated the entire game defensively. A lot to be said for the 4-3 defense of Chuck Knox that they went to this year. And it has given them an opportunity to play Rufus Porter. And when Cortez Kennedy gets back in shape, he will become quite a force at the defensive right tackle. This helped Jacob Green move back out to the 4-3 end.
Lee Johnson has been one of the few bright lights tonight. A booming kick to the 18-yard line. James Jefferson runs it back out to the 32-yard line. 53-yard kick by Johnson. There's a look at Porter as Seattle gets the ball back. 12:03 left.
That instilled that defense, a long-time proponent of the 3-4, and of course an 18-year veteran with Chuck Knox. Great linebacker with the Cleveland Browns before he went into the coaching game, and recognized as one of the fine defensive coordinators around. But many changes defensively for Seattle, and if no one else is, I know that Cincinnati is impressed tonight. They have dominated on defense.
Tomorrow night, America's watching the Tuesday Night All-Stars of ABC. Who's the boss? Head of the class, Roseanne, coached in 30-something. That's tomorrow night's All-Star lineup right here on ABC. From the 32-yard line, Seattle with the ball in a 15-point lead. Center, flag, 3-yard gain. Came from the umpire, so that normally means multiple choice here. Take a guess. I'll be darned.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
One of the thrills of working a Jerry Seaman game is getting to listen to the rich baritone.
Number 54 offense, still first down.
Very animated.
A man who likes his job.
Oh, yeah. And we mentioned Art McNally is going to retire as the supervisor of officials. And Jerry moves into the office, into a Park Avenue suite next year.
We'll get a chance to talk about it later in the year, but Art McNally has made a lot of contributions to this game in so many, many ways.
Very much so. 1st and 20.
Whoa.
And Dave Craig gets sacked by Francis. You know, the Bengals haven't had a guy in double figures in sacks for a long, long time. And here's a rookie in his 4th game who's already picked up 5 sacks. So if you stretch that out over the course of a season, he'd wind up with 20.
Skip McClendon was really the first guy in there and forces Dave Craig up. That's really what they call a green dog by Francis. He's actually locked up on John L. Williams. When he sees Williams stay in to give max protection to the quarterback, he goes on his own. When a guy gets a sack that's that late, that means somebody up front disrupted things before he got there.
2nd and 27 from the 15. 11:05 to go. Here's Williams. Out past the 20, and John L. to the 26-yard line. Stopped there by Grant and Phillips.
This guy is one complete football player. Start racking off some names of other fullbacks in the National Football League and see if you can come up with as complete a player as John L. Williams. As gifted a runner, as good a blocker, and as good a receiver. I don't think you'll find anybody. I think he's the best all-around fullback in the game of football. Easily.
I don't think you'd find much of an argument, and they have been using him that way for the past couple of years. Very willing to subordinate, too. And when he uses Fenner, that's fine with him.
3rd and 16. Craig going deep. He has a man out in front, but the pass was lofted and hung. And the Bengals back there to break it up as Carl Carter and Barney Bussey got back, along with Brian Blades, who had beaten the coverage for the moment.
If that's John Elway or Jay Schrader or Randall Cunningham throwing that ball, that's a touchdown. It's just that's as far as Dave Craig can throw a football, because Blades, look at that. Look how badly he had beaten double coverage, but he has to turn around and wait for the ball, and Carl Carter gets a hand on it. If Dave Craig could have just thrown that ball another 5 yards, that'd have been a walk-in touchdown for Seattle.
Mitchell Price back to receive. That's not the series Seattle was looking for here, or the snap either, as Donnelly gets it away. A great job by Donnelly. Terrific. Price fields it at the 35-yard line and is out past the 40.
Come on,
One man to beat as he gets inside the 30, the 20, and all the way for a touchdown.
That will go down as one of the great wasted efforts of all time.
A tremendous job by Donnelly after the bad snap by Michael Morris, but then the Seahawks can't cover on the punt, and the Bengals get back into the game. And Ickey Woods is out there to congratulate him.
And ironically, it was Donnelly who had the last chance to save it.
I mean, that really will go down as a wasted effort. What a marvelous job by Donnelly of getting that kick away. Although I want to know, how could there not be a flag for an eligible man downfield on the punt, as long as it took for him to get that away? Now, certainly it would have been declined, but
Breach to the point after is good, and Cincinnati is back to within 8. Mitchell Price, a rookie from Tulane.
Low snap. Donnelly loses it for a moment. Now watch this. Looks like a rugby player. He gets it off him. He's off balance, and he just gets buried by Tua Tagovailoa again. He knows he's going to get hit. Courageous effort just to get it off.
9:49 remaining in the 4th quarter. Cincinnati still breathing.
And here comes Donnelly again with another chance to be a hero. Forget it. 6-point Cincinnati. They're back in it.
The cornerback at Tulane, who was drafted because of his kick returning skills in good measure, has done just that for the Bengals. He's put them back into the game. It's 24-16. And Johnson's kick is a deep one and downed in the end zone by Chris Warren. The TD again. Let's take a look. A lot of things happening on this play.
yeah, did we have a clip right here? Take a look at this block and see if it's not from behind on Mitchell Price's return. I mean, looks like a clip to me.
And another near one when Price breaks it back.
Rod Jones, number 25, the guy that came in there, and from that angle, it certainly looked like an undetected and uncalled clip.
It was a very busy play.
Worth repeating, football fans know it, but if you're a casual viewer, that is not the type of situation that is reviewable. It's an obvious slip, but the replay official can do nothing about it. From the 20-yard line, Craig, incomplete, intended for Blades, and he's covered by Carter.
Here's a situation where Seattle now has had a little momentum slip away from them. They scored on the big play, but then they gave up a big play. Now, they've been very successful hammering away at Cincinnati with John L. Williams, with Derek Fenner, an occasional short pass, and then trying something long. I think it'd be wrong for them to just all of a sudden try to go deep, deep, deep.
Lamar Parrish in 1974, and Price 16 years later, the longest since then. After a splendid effort by the man you just saw, Rick Donnelly, was wasted.
What a great player Lamar Parrish was.
Second and 10, going deep for Kane, and he can't hold on.
Ooh, and Dave Craig's upset. Kane was wide open.
I think Dave Craig is hurt. We saw Stoker warming up at the sidelines, and you saw Craig